Thomas, thanks for joining me at LSI here out in Dana Point.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, last time we saw each other, where we got to say hello, was at another industry event, SDTS, Eric Wilson show down in Houston.
Yeah, at Sages as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Really exciting.
And you know, VitVio is really an interesting technology that some have taken some earliest shots on goal at. And I'd like to hear your positioning of the technology, and then let's talk about what the genesis of the technology was.
Yeah, I mean, I've wrote memos about this as well, just because it's something that comes up all the time of like these earlier shots. I think something that's like really important to understand is that you could do computer vision and ambient sensing like in the 80s, but it's not the same technology you're doing today. Just as a computer today is not the same, a phone today is not the same. You used to have a giant room to basically fill for a computer, and now it's in your pocket, further than our wildest dreams. And it goes the same for computer vision and ambient sensing, that technology as well. I think that even the, let's say, advancements that we've made in the last 5 to 10 years make it so dramatically, like, let's say, much more achievable than it was previously. And I also think there's a fundamental shift in the way that people think about it. Like, everybody knows, like, AI is the hot word today. It's like, and everybody knows it's inevitable that we're going to head this direction. It's just, what is the things that are going to make the biggest impact that people are most comfortable with? And I think that, like, in the past, sometimes, because healthcare is all about patients' safety, outcomes, et cetera, that's the core of it. That's what we have to focus on. But it's also led to some of the technologies going too quickly in a route that can make people a little bit spooked.
Give me an example.
So, like, looking at, for example, some of the like previous, let's say, attempts of this have gone in and taken one of two paths, in my view. First path is they do like post-hoc analytics, and hospitals already have way too much data that they can't look at already, so adding more data to that load just increases their frustrations with it. It doesn't actually help them. And the second path, which I think is even more has a detriment that I've actually had to work against these kind of biases in going into it, is safety. Mm-hmm. Now, safety sounds great. We all want to be more safe in surgery. But as soon as you start talking about safety and putting a camera or any sort of sensor in the room to look at that, everybody in the room starts thinking that they're going to get in trouble. They don't start thinking about the downstream impacts. Of course, the patient's, the idea is there, but they're all concerned about, like, oh, am I going to be judged if I make a mistake or if I do something slightly wrong?
Surveilled. You're
exactly,
being surveilled.
Exactly.
Right?
The big brother idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're taking a much different approach to this to say, guys, if we can, like, I want to focus on administration, on taking over the stuff that you don't like to do. Because I promise you, if you walk into any operating room globally and you say to the staff there, do you like to do admin? Not a single one of them says yes. So if you come in with that context and that kind of switch of mind frame and mindset, every one of them buy in and even start pushing for you. So
did that then dictate how you design the product platform and the core base technology you use?
100%. I would say that even our company is not built, or it wasn't our idea. I would say that it's more an idea from the operating room. I mean, as you know, I don't come from the healthcare industry. I come from other industries. But what I'd say is, like, the big benefit of coming in from another industry is you come in with this no opinions. You come in and you say, I know that I don't know. Mm-hmm. Tell me what your problems are, and let me address those. And then, of course, you have to build a great business off the back of that.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because coming in from the outside in, part of it is you lack domain knowledge, but on the other side of that, you don't inherit
bad habits,
bad bias, right? So just give me a background on where you came from and sort of what was the analogous technology that you said, well, we did this here, how about here?
Yeah, in short, basically over the last decade or so, I've had the pleasure of helping build a couple hypergrowth startups that have gone from that 0 to billion mark in various industries. I think the ones that are relevant to talk about is one of the first ones was, if you know, Kiwi.com, this online travel company similar to Skyscanner or Kayak. Actually, last year was rated by Forbes as the most used. So I joined that when it was 10 people. It wasn't even called Kiwi when I joined it. And over 3 years, we went from 10 people to 3,000 people and $1 billion revenue, and it did an exit to General Atlantic. And then most relevant to what we do now at VitVio is I was head of product and part of the executive board for a company called iFi, which I guarantee you've never heard of, but if you know the concept of autonomous stores, Amazon Go, that kind of style of where you can walk in, take whatever you want, and walk out. iFi is Amazon's #1 competitor in that space, and it is actually the biggest player in the autonomous retail space globally. But the reason you never hear about it is what we're doing is white labeling it and selling it to Aldi, Tesco, Walmart, Dollar General, Marks and Spencer's. If you ever go in the airports and you see those Hudson stores, those are all iFi tech. We're in LA, so the LA Clippers Stadium has it too. And now I've taken a lot of the early team from that helped build that in those days. And now we're doing a bit of tech transfer, so taking that over to healthcare.
So the consumer market is an entirely different market to penetrate than healthcare, right?
100%.
So there's a bit of entropy in the healthcare site of care environment.
Yep.
And high-tech AI and the use of tools to that area has not quite been embraced because there's always a resistance to, but I lose my paper, or we've always done it that way.
Yeah, I mean, first off, going into healthcare, people ask me like, why'd you go into healthcare? Because there's a lot of easier places to go build business. But I think, you really have to focus on what's the meaning and the impact, and it's worth taking that long shot and playing the long game to make that impact, not just chase a good business for just the money, or like consumer market, which is, they're still fun and has a lot of benefit, but this actually has a meaningful impact. What I would say though is that I think in healthcare there's a fundamental shift in the way that people are viewing these kind of technologies. And I think that a lot of that started with COVID. And when COVID happened, I mean, the whole healthcare industry went into overdrive. Everybody was overworked. It was incredibly difficult for every single hospital globally. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up call. So after COVID, some of the old guards stepped down and some new generation came in as well. But also, people just generally realized the old ways don't work anymore and we need to change. And the only way that you can do that is you can throw more people at it, but there's no more people to be done and they're already overburdened. So let's embrace tech. And I think that's that's why the time is right now to do it.
So in my elevator pitch, or your elevator pitch,
Yeah.
explain to me the near-term solution to the problem that VitVio answers.
The near-term solution to the problem that VitVio answers. So on a super high level, what we're doing is we build like computer vision ambient sensing in the operating rooms. We go in, we deploy like 5 to 10 cameras into the ceiling. Those have microphones as well. We start tracking all the people, equipment, fixtures, fittings, processes, to digitalize that OR into 3D. And really the goal here is to understand who's doing what, when, where, why. And once you have that context, you can then deploy AI agents on top of it to act as like an additional staff member to do all of the things that the staff don't want to do. So a good example of this is like looking at the stages of surgery and logging the surgical notes associated to those, that as they step out of the room, the notes are already pre-processed, the stages are already logged in the HR systems, but also to orchestrate the team so that when you get into the last 20 minutes of a surgery, your only goal as a staff member is to focus on the patient. We'll do everything else. We'll take care of the notes, we'll take care of the logging, the data to the HR system, and we'll also orchestrate the team. So you get that last 20 minutes, we're sending off for pre-op to start prepping the next patient, or the cleaning crew to come to OR3 in 10 minutes to start doing the turnover.
And then take me longer range, the Valhalla. Where could this go to from there?
Oh, I think that you want to stay focused in the early days, especially on getting to that next step. However, the longer term vision is to extend across the perioperative flow and the patient flow beyond that. And if you look at some of the technical decisions that we've been making these days, which is also a big difference of like some of the previous, let's say, attempts at something similar, is that we go really heavily into the whole to 3D conceptualization of it. What I want to do is I believe that understanding all the fixtures, fittings, people in 3D gives us a lot of range to basically like a very extensible product to where you can start looking into looking at retained like RFO detections, looking at tray rationalization, looking at like really anything with infection control. But again, these are all things that are nice to talk about, hypotheticals, and we built the system to be able to go that route in time. But our vision is clear right now. Stick on making driving efficiency and making the staff's life easier, while also driving higher ROI for the hospital.
We've seen in the last 24 months, at least I've seen in my firm, being retained to start to build these humanoid-like cobots as well,
Yeah.
that are starting to insinuate themselves into the marketplace. Some of them are just roaming through the hallways. Others are maybe working the back table.
Yeah.
Others are potentially in infection control. So I eventually see a bridging of those two environments.
I'm 100% aligned, and I'm, without naming any names or anything like this, I already talked to a lot of the robotics companies, a lot of other AI companies. This is another kind of approach I'm taking, is extremely open and integrated. And I think that it's never a single point solution that's going to solve it. What it'll be is the orchestration or the combination of all of these different solutions together. And what I want to do is, let's say that those robots start coming in, I want to give them the context to let them do their job even better. And I'm hoping that I can pull that data back to also help us understand the overall flow better as well. So it's really a merging of the two.
Imagine open and integrated healthcare environment, never been done before.
100%. I'm on board.
Thanks, man.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.